What if everything you have been taught about strength is backwards, and the very acts you believe make you visible, respected, and admired are the same acts quietly draining your power? What if the most dominant move in any room is not to speak, not to respond, not to prove, but to let the noise collapse on itself while you remain untouched? In a culture addicted to reaction, the man who withholds it becomes terrifying. He is not invisible, he is untrackable. And there is a profound difference between the two. You have been told that engagement is influence, that visibility is power, that the loudest voice shapes the narrative. But this is the lie that keeps the weak exposed. Attention is not authority. Attention is vulnerability. Every time you explain yourself, every time you react to disrespect, every time you feel the itch to be seen, you hand your opponent a map of your inner world. And once a man can see your fears, your hunger, your insecurities, he no longer needs to fight you. He can simply pull the strings. Machiavelli understood this long before social media, long before public performance became the primary battlefield. He wrote that men are more offended by the loss of respect than by the loss of money, because money can be regained, but authority once cracked is never fully repaired. And nothing cracks authority faster than emotional accessibility. The ruler who reacts reveals himself. The ruler who ignores becomes a mystery, and mystery is the soil where power grows. Look at history, and you will see this pattern repeated with brutal consistency. The most dangerous leaders were never the ones who spoke the most. They were the ones who spoke the least, and were heard the most. They did not rush to correct every insult or chase every rumor. They let their silence do the work. When people could not read them, they projected their own fears onto them. When people could not provoke them, they began to doubt their own relevance. That doubt spreads faster than any army. There is a trap that modern men fall into without even realizing it. They believe that if they do not respond, they are being disrespected. In reality, when you respond to everything, you are announcing that everything has access to you. You are placing yourself on call for the emotional whims of others. This is not confidence. This is submission disguised as assertiveness. The strongest men in any environment are those who decide what is worthy of their attention. Everything else dies in the absence of it. A man who ignores you is not dismissing you. He is declaring that you do not exist in his hierarchy of importance. And nothing wounds the ego more deeply than being rendered irrelevant. This is why ignoring people feels so uncomfortable at first. Your nervous system is addicted to feedback. You have been trained to seek validation, to chase acknowledgement, to need response as proof of existence. When you withdraw from that cycle, it feels like standing alone in the dark. But it is in that darkness that you begin to realize something profound. You do not need their eyes to see yourself. You do not need their words to confirm your worth. You do not need their reactions to move forward. There is a quiet terror that spreads when someone cannot be controlled by approval or punishment. When insults bounce off him, when praise does not change him, when absence of response becomes his default weapon. The people around him start to feel unstable. They test him, they provoke him, they escalate, and when nothing works, they begin to feel small. Power is not loud. Power is gravitational. It bends the environment around it without ever announcing itself. And ignoring people is one of the most efficient ways to build that gravity. Because when you stop feeding others your emotional energy, they are forced to confront the emptiness of their own. Imagine a general standing on a battlefield while his enemies scream insults from the other side. The amateur yells back. The professional remains still. He watches, he measures, he waits. The silence unnerves the opposition far more than any shout ever could. They begin to imagine plans, they project strategies, they fear traps that may not even exist. And in that hesitation, he wins. In the modern world, the battlefield is not land, it is attention. Every argument, every message, every attempt to pull you into reaction is an attempt to drag you into someone else's frame, to make you play their game. When you ignore, you refuse the game itself. You stay sovereign. Machiavelli once wrote that the wise ruler must learn how not to be good, and to use that knowledge according to necessity. Ignoring people is not cruelty, it is necessity. You cannot allow every voice into your mind. You cannot allow every provocation to shape your behavior. The man who tries to please everyone ends up owned by everyone. There is a strange alchemy that happens when you stop responding. People begin to reveal themselves. The insecure become louder. the manipulative become more obvious. The narcissistic spiral, and the strong, the truly strong, begin to respect you because they recognize what you are doing. You are setting a boundary without ever drawing a line. This is why silence is more powerful than confrontation. Confrontation keeps you in the same emotional space as your opponent. Silence rises above it. It creates distance, and distance is perspective. From that elevated position, you can see patterns others are blind to. You can choose your moves with clarity instead of impulse. Most men sabotage their own authority by explaining themselves. They think being understood will make them powerful. In reality, being unreadable is what creates leverage. When people do not know your intentions, they must assume the worst. And that assumption keeps them cautious. Caution is respect in disguise. When you ignore someone who expects access to you, you are not being rude. You are reclaiming your time, your energy, your narrative. You are telling the world, without a single word, that you are not here to be consumed. You are here to move. And as this realization begins to settle into your bones, you will notice something subtle but transformative. The fewer people you respond to, the more seriously everyone begins to take you. The less you speak, the more weight your words carry. The less you explain, the more authority you project. This is not because you have become cold. It is because you have become centered. You have moved from being reactive to being deliberate, from being available to being selective, from being loud to being inevitable. In the coming moments, we will go deeper into how this principle reshapes every arena of your life, from relationships to negotiations to personal reinvention. But for now, let this truth land quietly inside you. Ignoring people is not avoidance. It is strategic withdrawal. It is the refusal to bleed energy where no return exists. It is the first move of every man who intends to rise above the noise and become something others can no longer touch. Every man eventually learns that not all battles are meant to be fought, but very few learn which ones are meant to be starved. Ignoring people is not passive. It is an active, calculated form of dominance. When you withdraw your attention, you remove the oxygen that keeps other people's dramas, provocations, and manipulations alive. And without oxygen, even the most aggressive fires collapse into ash. The modern world teaches you to react instantly, to answer, to defend, to correct, to justify. But this reflex is exactly what makes you predictable. Predictability is the enemy of power. When others know how to push you, they own a lever inside your mind. Every button you allow to exist becomes a handle someone else can grab. Machiavelli observed that men are moved less by logic than by appearances and outcomes. They do not respect the man who is right. They respect the man who seems untouchable. And nothing creates that aura more efficiently than controlled silence. When you do not answer, people begin to invent reasons. They assume superiority, confidence, indifference, strategy. They project their own hierarchy onto you, and in doing so, they place you above themselves. This is the mirror effect. The quieter you become, the more loudly others reveal who they are. The needy will chase. The insecure will lash out. The manipulative will escalate. And all of it happens without you lifting a finger. You simply stand still while they exhaust themselves. Consider a negotiation. Two men sit across from each other. One fills the space with words, explaining his position, justifying his price, revealing his urgency. The other listens. He does not rush. He does not interrupt. He allows silence to stretch until it becomes uncomfortable. And in that discomfort, the first man begins to leak information. He lowers his demands. He reveals his fears. He negotiates against himself. Silence is not emptiness. It is pressure. Most people cannot tolerate that pressure. They rush to relieve it by speaking, and every word they offer gives you more control. This is why ignoring someone who is trying to provoke you is so psychologically devastating to them. Provocation is a bid for control. When you refuse to acknowledge it, you deny them the outcome they crave. They wanted a reaction. They wanted proof they could move you. They get nothing, and that nothing is unbearable. It forces them to confront a painful possibility. They do not matter. Power is not about dominating others directly. It is about shaping how others feel in your presence. When someone feels invisible around you, they feel weak. When someone feels unpredictable around you, they feel cautious. When someone cannot read you, they feel small. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must be a great pretender and dissembler. not in the childish sense of lying, but in the strategic sense of revealing only what serves him. Ignoring people is one of the cleanest forms of this. You give them nothing to work with, no emotional data, no tells, no confirmation, just a blank surface onto which they project their own narratives. This is why the man who is always available is never respected. He is too easy to reach, too easy to move, too easy to manipulate. Scarcity creates value, distance creates mystique, and mystique creates authority. There is a dangerous misunderstanding about ignoring people. Many think it means indifference. In reality, it is focus. You are not ignoring because you do not care. You are ignoring because you care too much about your mission to be distracted by noise. Every great strategist knows that attention is a finite resource. Where you place it determines what grows. If you feed every slight, every insult, every distraction, you are cultivating a garden of chaos. If you starve them, you cultivate clarity. Imagine a lion in the savannah. He does not turn his head for every bird, every rustle, every distant sound. He moves only when something matters. His stillness is not weakness, it is readiness. And the entire environment senses it. When you begin to ignore what does not serve you, people will feel that shift. Some will become angry, some will become desperate, some will suddenly try to flatter you. This is not coincidence, it is the recalibration of the social hierarchy. They are adjusting to the new gravity you have created. This is why ignoring someone often makes them want you more. In relationships, in business, in social circles. Attention is the currency everyone is addicted to. When you stop handing it out freely, its value skyrockets. But this power comes with a responsibility. You must know when to break your silence. Silence is not meant to be permanent. It is meant to be strategic. When you do speak, your words should land like a verdict, not like a conversation. Short, measured, final. The man who talks constantly must convince. The man who speaks rarely commands. And as you continue to practice this, you will notice a profound shift in how people treat you. They interrupt you less. They listen more closely. They hesitate before crossing you. Not because you have become aggressive, but because you have become unreadable. Unpredictability is a form of armor. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are letting the world react to you. And that is where true power begins. There comes a moment when a man realizes that his greatest weakness has never been his enemies, but his own need to be acknowledged by them. The craving to be seen, to be validated, to be responded to, is the invisible leash that keeps him tethered to other people's moods and judgments. When you break that leash, you do not become isolated, you become sovereign. Ignoring people is not a social tactic. It is a psychological reconfiguration. You are teaching your nervous system that you are safe without external confirmation. You are training yourself to move without applause. And that training changes how you carry yourself, how you look at others, and how they look at you. Machiavelli observed that men are driven more by fear of loss than by hope of gain. When someone feels that your attention is slipping beyond their reach, they feel a subtle panic. They begin to fear losing their position in your world. And that fear makes them behave differently. More carefully, more respectfully, more cautiously, more cautiously. This is the quiet power of withdrawal. You are not attacking, you are removing something they took for granted, and that absence creates tension. Think of a court filled with courtiers competing for the favor of a king. The king does not chase them, they chase him. His distance is what creates their urgency. His indifference is what gives him leverage. If he were to seek their approval, the hierarchy would collapse. They would sense his need, and need is weakness. In modern life, the same principle applies. The man who is always available is always subordinate. The man who is selective becomes the center of gravity. When people must work to reach you, they assume you are worth reaching. This is why so many men sabotage themselves in relationships. They reply instantly. They explain themselves. They chase closure. They try to resolve every emotional ripple. In doing so, they teach the other person that their time and energy are cheap, and cheap things are never cherished. Ignoring someone is a way of saying, without words, that you have a life, a mission, a trajectory that does not revolve around them. It creates a subtle fear that you are moving forward without them, and that fear awakens desire, respect, and curiosity all at once. But this is not manipulation in the vulgar sense. It is alignment with a deeper truth. People are drawn to what they cannot fully possess. They respect what they cannot easily move. They are cautious around what they cannot predict. Machiavelli wrote that it is much safer to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. But fear in this context does not mean terror. It means the fear of losing access, the fear of misstepping, the fear of becoming irrelevant, and ignoring people creates exactly that. There is a moment of silence that happens after you stop responding. It is like the pause after a door closes. On the other side, people begin to knock, at first politely, then with irritation, then with urgency. And if the door remains closed, they begin to question themselves. Did I say something wrong? Did I lose standing? Am I no longer important? All of these questions weaken their position and strengthen yours. This is why emotional self-control is the foundation of all power. If someone can make you react, they can make you reveal. If they can make you reveal, they can make you predictable. And if they can make you predictable, they can make you small. Ignoring is not about punishing others. It is about protecting yourself from being pulled into frames that do not serve you. Every time you engage in a pointless argument, you step into someone else's reality. You accept their terms. You let them set the emotional temperature. And in that moment, you have already lost. Silence keeps you in your own frame. There is a psychological dominance that comes from not needing to win every exchange. When you stop caring about being right, you start becoming powerful. When you stop needing to correct, you start commanding. When you stop chasing respect, you start radiating it. Most men believe that strength is confrontation. In reality, strength is selectivity. It is the ability to decide what matters and what does not. And what does not matter should not be fed. Imagine a wolf in the forest. He does not bark at every animal. He does not respond to every noise. He moves with quiet intention. And because of that, when he does move, the entire environment shifts. This is what happens when you master the art of ignoring. Your presence becomes heavier, your absence becomes louder, and your attention becomes a scarce, powerful currency. People will begin to feel it before they understand it. They will sense that you are no longer easily accessible, that you are no longer easily moved, that you are no longer emotionally available for manipulation, and they will adjust their behavior accordingly. Some will drift away. Let them. They were only there for the access, not the respect. Others will step closer, more carefully, more deliberately. Those are the ones who recognize power when they see it. And as this pattern continues, you will find yourself standing in a very different position than before. Quieter, calmer, more centered, and strangely, more influential. Because the man who does not beg for attention becomes the one everyone watches. There is a hidden architecture beneath every social system, and it is built on one question that almost no one consciously asks: who needs whom more? The man who needs less always holds the upper hand. This is not a moral truth, it is a mechanical one. And ignoring people is one of the fastest ways to shift that balance in your favor. Most men walk through life broadcasting their needs. They want to be liked, they want to be understood, they want to be included, they want to be seen, and every one of these wants is a quiet confession of dependence. When others sense that you need something from them, they instinctively devalue you. Not out of cruelty, but out of psychological law. Scarcity is respected, abundance is not. When you ignore someone, you are not withholding kindness, you are signaling abundance. You are showing that your emotional life, your focus, your direction does not hinge on their approval. And that signal reshapes how they see you. Machiavelli understood that power is rooted in perception. It does not matter what you are, only what others believe you are. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, people do not think you are weak, they think you are dangerous. They assume you know something they do not. They imagine calculations, strategies, hidden motives. Silence invites projection, and projection inflates your presence. This is why the unreadable leader always feels larger than life. People cannot contain him in a simple narrative. They do not know whether he is amused or furious, bored or plotting, and that uncertainty forces them to tread carefully. They begin to self-censor. They begin to behave. Contrast this with the man who explains himself. He removes all ambiguity. He lays out his emotions like a map. And once others know where your pressure points are, they can press them at will. Ignoring people protects you from this exposure. It keeps your inner world private. It allows you to move without broadcasting your intentions. And in a world where information is leverage, privacy becomes a form of armor. There is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when someone cannot get a reaction from you. Their mind begins to fill the gap. They replay conversations, they analyze your tone, they imagine meanings, and in doing so, they become emotionally invested in you. You, meanwhile, remain free. This asymmetry is power. It is the same principle that governs desire. The one who cares less holds the leverage. The one who waits controls the tempo. The one who does not chase becomes the one who is chased. But to wield this power, you must be willing to tolerate discomfort. Silence feels awkward. Ignoring feels unnatural. You will feel the urge to smooth things over, to clarify, to explain. Resist it. That urge is your old identity trying to survive. The identity that needed approval. The identity that feared being misunderstood. A man who is becoming powerful must be willing to be misunderstood. Machiavelli wrote that the prince must appear merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, and religious, but must also be ready to act against these virtues when necessary. Ignoring people is one of those moments. It may feel cold, it may feel unfair, but it preserves your strategic position. You cannot be everything to everyone, and the moment you stop trying, you begin to become something to yourself. Watch how people change when you stop explaining. They become more careful with their words. They test you less. They start to assume you are busy, important, focused. They fill in the blanks in ways that elevate you. And this is not manipulation. It is human nature responding to scarcity and mystery. The man who ignores trivialities creates space for gravity. He becomes like a still lake. Everything that approaches him sees its own reflection. Some see insecurity. Some see arrogance. Some see intrigue. But none can see the bottom, and that depth is what commands respect. As you integrate this into your life, you will notice that fewer people waste your time. Fewer people try to provoke you. Fewer people feel entitled to your emotional labor. Your world becomes quieter, cleaner, more controlled, and in that quiet, your real power begins to take shape. By now, you can feel the shift that silence creates. It is not merely a social tactic. It is a reordering of reality around you. When you stop reacting, you stop being dragged. When you stop explaining, you stop leaking power. When you stop chasing, you begin to be felt. There is a reason the most feared figures in history were not the most talkative. They did not announce their intentions. They let others guess. And in that guessing, their influence grew. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he warned that the man who reveals his plans too early gives his enemies time to prepare. Ignoring people is one way of keeping your plans sealed behind your eyes. Every time someone tries to pull you into their emotional storm, they are asking you to abandon your center. They want you to join their chaos, so they do not have to face it alone. When you refuse, when you remain still, you force them to confront themselves, and most people are terrified of what they see there. This is why your silence feels like judgment to them. It reflects their own instability back at them. They wanted you to validate their feelings. Instead, you made them question them. Power does not need to argue. Power does not need to defend itself. Power simply continues. Think of an emperor walking through a crowded hall. He does not respond to every whisper. He does not correct every rumor. He moves forward, and the room adjusts around him. His momentum is his message. When you ignore what is beneath you, you elevate yourself above it. This is where many men become afraid. They worry that if they stop responding, they will be forgotten. In truth, the opposite happens. People remember what they cannot have. They obsess over what they cannot reach. Your absence becomes more powerful than your presence ever was. Machiavelli wrote that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see, but few can feel. When you disappear from someone's emotional radar, they cannot see you, but they feel you everywhere. In the silence, in the unanswered message, in the unresolved tension. That tension is leverage. There is a ruthless elegance in this. You do not have to insult. You do not have to threaten. You do not have to dominate openly. You simply withdraw, and the psychological weight shifts in your favor. But understand this. Ignoring people is not about punishing them. It is about choosing yourself. It is about refusing to give your life force to anyone who has not earned it. It is about protecting the sacred space of your attention. The more you value your own time and energy, the more others will be forced to value it too. There will be those who try to shame you for this. They will call you cold, arrogant, detached. Let them. Those words are the protest of people who no longer have access to you. The truly powerful do not need to be liked. They need to be respected, and respect grows in the soil of boundaries. As you move through the world with this quiet discipline, you will begin to notice something extraordinary. Your emotions become steadier, your decisions become clearer, your presence becomes heavier. You are no longer thrown off course by every wave, you become the current. And in the final movement of this understanding, you will see that ignoring people is not about disappearing. It is about becoming so anchored in yourself that nothing external can move you without permission. That is where unshakable power lives. There is a moment when the man who has learned to ignore finally understands what he has become. He is no longer fighting for space in the world. The world has begun to curve around him. Where once he chased reactions, he now commands attention without asking. Where once he was pulled into every emotional current, he now stands in stillness while others drift. This is the end game of silence, not isolation, not indifference, but gravitational authority. Machiavelli understood that the ultimate form of control is not to force others to obey you, but to shape the conditions under which they move. When you ignore what does not serve you, you shape those conditions. You train others to approach you with care. You teach them that your time is not cheap. You turn your presence into something that must be earned. The man who reacts is always behind. He is responding to the agenda of others. The man who ignores is ahead. He is moving on his own trajectory, and that trajectory becomes the axis around which other people must adjust. This is why silence feels so powerful when you finally inhabit it. You are no longer broadcasting need, you are broadcasting direction. There will come a time when someone who once dismissed you will suddenly seek your attention. They will message you, they will test you, they will try to re-enter your world, and in that moment, you will feel the full weight of what you have built. Their desire to be seen by you is the proof of your new position, but you must not fall back into old patterns. You must not rush to meet them. You must not explain where you have been or what you have been doing. Your life does not need a press release. Your silence has already told the story. Machiavelli wrote that men in general judge more by appearances than by reality. And the appearance of a man who is not easily reached is that of a man who is important. When people cannot access you freely, they assume others are doing so instead. They assume you are in demand. They assume you are winning. Let them. Your task is not to correct their assumptions. Your task is to live in a way that makes those assumptions feel inevitable. This is the paradox of ignoring people. You do not do it to be noticed. You do it to be free. But in that freedom, you become something that cannot be ignored. Your attention becomes a blade. Your silence becomes a shield. Your presence becomes a statement. There is a final image I want to leave you with. A lone figure walking through a dim corridor. No footsteps behind him. No voices calling his name. Just the quiet certainty of his own direction. Every door he passes wonders if it will be opened. Every shadow waits to see if he will turn. But he does not. He keeps moving. That is the man who has mastered the strongest form of power. Not force, not persuasion, but self-possession. If you have felt this truth resonate, let it echo beyond these words. Move in silence. Let the noise exhaust itself. And when you speak, let it be because the world has grown quiet enough to listen. If you have made it this far, it is because a part of you already knows this truth. Attention is power, and whoever you focus on controls your emotions, your time, and your reactions. Ignoring someone is not weakness. It is the decision to stop feeding what does not deserve your energy. Now tell me in the comments if you are ready to withdraw your attention from what drains you. If this message touched you and made sense, write in the comments, "I choose my peace." Let us see how many here are truly ready to protect their energy. And do not forget, keep watching the next video. It is important, much more than you imagine. See you there.